Hi guys, thank you for clicking on my video, and today I'm going to start something new. We are doing a fan theory video about Steven Universe. This is my own theory that I thought of just to think about how in some cartoons that I've been watching, we've actually made some parallels to some stuff that have actually happened in real life history. Yes, I can say it now. Your favorite TV shows, whether you're young or old, have been teaching you history. You may now either scream in excitement and or fear. And today what we're talking about is how Steven Universe versus Gemworld, which is just how I observe it, may or may not have been based off of a Spartan society, or should I say inspired the Spartan society that we had in the past. And it also ties in the kindergarten and the human race as well, along with just Jasper, Peridot, and Lapis representing three different tiers of the society. So, let's begin. Now, to let you know, in the past, Sparta was a warrior society in ancient Greece that reached the height of its power after defeating the rival city-state Athens in the Peloponnesian War. Blah blah blah. But most notably, the Spartan culture was centered on loyalty to the state and military service. What I've noticed just from Jasper's demeanor, by far, is that the Empire seems more of a militaristic planet, but it also made me know, why did they only send this one giant escort to go with Peridot to this planet, where if they knew about some survivors of the Gem generation who had the Great War thousands of years ago, wouldn't they maybe send some more people to help out? Maybe help fight in case something happens, but obviously that wasn't needed. But I will get into that later, because it is a very big clue that something is going on with Homeworld. Now, along with Jasper's demeanor, she's obviously a blood knight, so it means that she's always fighting. And since how the Empire seems to view fusing as a form of weakness, obviously they rely more on their own strength, self strength, basically kind of like Burning Man. You rely on yourself. They don't ever let you really fight with someone in companionship, which is why they look down on both Ruby and Sapphire's relationship and probably on Lapis's love for Steven in a maternal way. I brought up how this theory also arises between the relationship between Peridot, Jasper, and Lapis. Well, the population of Sparta consists of three main groups. The Spartans or Spartiates, who are full citizens, the Helots, or the serfs/slaves, and the Periocili, who are neither slaves nor citizens. The Periocili literally meant dwellers around, and they worked as craftsmen as traders and built weapons for the Spartans. Sound familiar? Let's go over it again. Jasper represents the Spartans, as they were very materialistic and they were all healthy male Spartan citizens, participated in the state-sponsored education system, and were taught to be in the army at age 7. The Helots would be both the humans when the kindergartens first erupted, as seen in the mural of Rose defending humans from the other three diamonds. As you can probably guess, the Helots were the slaves or serfs that did most of the work, and the earth was being used as basically a slave for their own nefarious needs. The Perilocy, I believe, is what Peridot and to an extent Pearl represent, as they were known as craftsmen and traders, and that's what also explains Pearl's low self-esteem, since she says she's just a Pearl, and they were basically neither slaves nor citizens. They were, in some eyes, nothing, or useless, but they made most of the stuff in the Empire. Now, going back to the education system, it emphasized obedience, endurance, courage, and control. And the citizens were devoted to their lives in military service and lived communally into adulthood. What's notable about that is that, to me, that basically sounds like what Jasper does, and up until her emotional breakdown. She's completely loyal to her homeworld. She's very materialistic. She really wants to fight. And while she failed with self-control, she shows a lot of courage, and she really wants obedience from both Ruby and Sapphire and Lapis. Obviously browbeating them into what she wants. Now, for Sparta, they were very materialistic. They were all about fighting. They wanted to fight for fighting's sake. It was as a warrior culture, which I also suspect the homeworld to be like. Their only occupation was actually just to be soldier. Males could only be soldiers. And after their male citizens left home and entered the Agagi, they're subjected to continual pain and competitions and given meager rations and expected to become skilled at stealing food, among other survival skills. Which is also probably why the gems really had no qualms about taking and polluting the earth into something of their own without considering the humans' actions. They came in and took over and set up the kindergartens. Once again, their skill is stealing food and other survival skills. Now, we go on to the Helots, which is where Lapis and the humans come in. Helots, which also mean captives, were fellow Greeks, originating from Laconia and Messina, who had been conquered by the Spartans and turned into slaves. The Spartans' way of life would not have been possible without the Helots, who handle all the day-to-day tasks and unskilled labor required to keep society functioning. They were farmers, domestic servants, nurses, and military attendants. Obviously, since Lapis's abilities were pretty much, based just for her, she obviously could, while she couldn't be a military person, like fighting in a war, she could maybe be a tactical person. Obviously, from her plan of fusing with Jasper and dragging to the bottom of the sea, it's actually a very good plan up until she had to consume this identity in order to maintain it. And maybe she could have even been some type of domestic servant when she was on Homeworld. We don't know. She might have actually even been a Spartan at one point, which also explains why she was scared by the new Homeworld, because there was nothing she ever really saw before. And maybe all her comrades and family may have died in the Gem War. And that's why she doesn't really recognize anybody. Now, for the humans' sake, of course, when they took over this new land, they didn't give a crap about who lived on Earth first. They were just taking it over. Now, what's notable is that the Spartans were outnumbered by the Helots, and they often treated them very badly, and just to prevent uprising, that usually had the opposite effect, since the Helots, they outnumbered the Spartans 20-1. And it was just because the Spartans had to come back and stop these revolts constantly that actually wore down their army and was a giant factor to why the society didn't really live on longer than maybe 50, 70 years. But in order to brutally prevent the uprisings, they would humiliate them Spartans would humiliate Helots by getting them deliberately drunk on wine, making them fools in public. Or they could take the slave master / Hitler route and mistreat them more extremely, like killing Helots for being too smart, or too fit, or being too pretty, among some other reasons. Now, this is just from History Channel, but it could get bad. They could get whipped with some vines, and I'm thinking maybe the humans were workers in unwilling workers, maybe to just feed the section of the homeworld that touched down in the kindergarten, maybe to fertilize the soil or to care after the new gems that popped out just like that. Now, I don't really have a lot more. I have some stuff about the fighting style, but the Spartans' constant military drilling and discipline made them skilled at the ancient Greek style of fighting in a phalanx formation. In the phalanx, the army worked in a unit as a closed C formation and made coordinated mass maneuvers. Somewhat similar to what Rose Quartz and the humans did. Well, at least it looks like she's defending them in that mural. But maybe they were fighting with her, or part of her amazing army. Those could have been some of the friends she couldn't save. And maybe some of them, while they did get saved behind the shield, maybe they just didn't live long enough to get mentioned by the current crystal gems, and they may not have remembered him, since they really didn't have a lot of respect and or contact with humans in thousands of years, and until Greg came along. in the 1980s. But I also find some more information to actually stay with this theory. Now hold on, guys. For Jasper, going into battle, a Spartan soldier on Hoplite wore a large bronze helmet, breastplate, and ankle guards, and carried a round shield made of bronze and wood, a long spear, and a sword. Spartan warriors are also known for their long hair and red cloaks. Sound familiar, anybody? Now, while the light looked pretty green when Jasper first appears with her cloak, you can obviously see it affects the rest of her body, and we can assume her cape is probably red. And and her gem weapon is a helmet, which she uses to just ram into people and ram them by the nose. Obviously, making more parallels to the Spartan community. It should also be noted for their society as a whole, Spartan women had a reputation for being independently minded and enjoyed more freedoms and power than their counterparts throughout ancient Greece. Which you can kind of say about the show itself. The women, as far as we've seen, all gems have been female, and they've been very strong-minded and able to do things on their own, aside from the apparent case system with Peridot and Pearl. They were also allowed to have property, which a lot of people weren't allowed to do. And she also noted that Ruby and Sapphire actually embody another feature of the Spartan universe, but still Gemworld would have a few says in it, as marriage was important to the Spartans, as the state put pressure on people who had male children to have male children who would grow up to be citizen warriors, and replace those who died in battle. So fusion would again be something that the Gemworld somewhat emphasizes on, but not to the point of accepting that as love, since that would be seen as too much feeling. Now this ties into the demise of Sparta, because in 371, Sparta suffered a catastrophic defeat at the hands of Thebans at the Battle of Lucreta, and a further blow late the following year. The Bangal Amphidemus led an invasion into Spartan territory and oversaw the liberation of the Messenian Helots, who had been enslaved by the Spartans for several centuries, and such the dynasty fell. Here's my theory. The gems on the home planet, they may not have had a lot, which is why we saw maybe a bunch, well, even from the mural, and in some of the episodes where we go back to the Strawberry Battlefield, to like in Rose's Scabbard, there are a bunch of weapons lying around. This could be the onslaught of their Battle of Lucreta, just to liberate all those people. And I also have a theory as to why the kindergarten was created. Gemworld was at a standstill. They, like in Children of the some Nicolas Cage movie, where they hadn't had children born in 18 years, and they were running low on recruits and or like new gems being popped up. So they needed to find some way to create more gems, and since Earth is one of the few planets in our solar system that's able to sustain life and to form gems, they came and created the kindergarten to speed up production. Star gems are non-sentient and take several thousand years to form. And of course, there are so many holes there, and yet we haven't seen any more gems, at least so far we haven't seen any more gems from the kindergarten other than the cluster. Another aspect of the Spartan culture that has been observed is that as in their quest for strong, healthy soldiers, any children born with birth defects were quickly abandoned in the woods to die. Which also explains Amethyst's presence in the kindergarten. They view her as weak, so they just kind of left her there for 6,000 years until Rose and the other gems found her. That also once again explains all the holes. Since their methods left the army greatly outnumbered, in fact it was a really small army, all the children, instead of using them for maybe helots or some other use of their abilities, they were left to die. Since that also explains so many holes, there were probably a lot of birth defects and any gems that actually came out of them in one piece. It's because they were getting desperate and there was a high fail, or maybe she refused to fight. Getting even more desperate, and also to punish some of their followers who had followed in Rose Quartz's rebellion, they gathered up some shards of broken gems and tried to create the cluster as a way to create more recruits for their army. Which is why Peridot, while she was being very sadistic about it, said that everything was going to plan. In reality, they were trying to create more troops, which I thought was very, very interesting. And she, being a craftsman, obviously would see some method to this madness, as they needed more recruits, and they were constantly conquering planets, and they were being worn down by the fact that they have no helots now. They just have their craftsmen and their army, and obviously a society cannot function on this. And from the war was a major blow to them, and they fear that their dynasty is ending soon, aka the dynasty over which Yellow Diamond is run. Oh, and it might have actually, this early civilization of the gems, as with anything else, probably inspired the rest of the Steven Universe history, as since we now have history repeat itself several times, the Spartan militaristic ways of Homeworld carried over to the human world actually ended a lot quicker because of several differences, and we don't live that long, and led to Steven's world now. But tell me what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below. I'm sorry this video is late. I may be able to do 1 or 2 videos a week now since I'm getting back at school. And let me know if you want to see more of these theories, and let me know what I can do to make it better. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. At the end of this, I do have a link to a previous video of mine where if you have a baby, I do show you how to make some pearl-inspired baby booties. And last but not least, we'll tune in next time, and we'll see how the Ren and Stimpy show has an episode that's connected to the Great Chinese Uprising in California. Bye!